Hey, welcome back to Your True Identity podcast. And Katie is here, and we're going to continue our conversation. And Katie, you were sharing last time we spoke a little bit about your journey as in high school and how COVID just really just started to maybe, I'm going to use the word spiral you a little bit, and you ended up going into therapy. And so I want to talk a little bit about that, because you did actually go to your parents and they actually came around you and said, hey, how can we help you? Right. And so, one, how'd that make you feel? And then what was that journey like to go into therapy, and did it help you? And can you just share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I started seeing my current therapist in like 9th grade during COVID because I was just struggling a lot emotionally, and my parents were a little bit worried, and they're like, whoa.
Yeah.
So I started seeing her. She's amazing, and we kind of just like dove right in because I was like, I need something to be fixed. And she's a Christian therapist.
Yeah.
So she would kind of ask me about it, and at first I was like, I don't want to talk about it. Like, I was like, I don't like it. Like, I don't want to talk about it. And but then it slowly I was more open to being like my issues with Christianity, and like she just helped me a lot through a lot of trauma, sexual trauma, identity issues, which we're talking about now. So
right.
She kind of helped me figure out like who I want to be, and she's actually who made me like want to pursue being a therapist, just because she like has changed my life. Yeah. Well, God through her, but
sure.
also
like
her career has changed my life.
Yeah, because that's really awesome, is that you started through somebody that was safe, right? She's safe,
yes,
right? A Christian, right? So not only did your parents say, hey, how can we help you? Then you found somebody that was safe that you could talk to and share about how you're feeling, because you knew something needed to be fixed.
And she was super like everything that I would tell her I'd get embarrassed about, and she'd be like, why are you embarrassed? You don't know the stuff I hear like during the day. You are fine. And I feel like she just always reassured me that what I had said wasn't going to leave the room, and that it was okay.
Right. And so for those who are watching, what would you say to them if they're maybe relating to what you've shared about getting up to the point that you stepped in to go into therapy? What would you share to somebody that's listening to it's like, I'm not sure about going to see a counselor or therapy?
Yeah, I would say that I got pretty lucky that like my first therapist I found was like amazing and a perfect match for me.
Yeah, so there was a good connection.
Yeah, but that isn't always the case, and I would say that someone should just keep on trying until they find a good person for them, because it may not be a one and done situation. And also, I would say it isn't embarrassing. Like, I feel like, especially for a lot of maybe guys, they'd be like, oh, well, that's kind of like girly, and like, I don't need help. Yeah. But you do. Everybody needs help. Like, you don't need a therapist you don't need to be crazy to have a therapist.
Right.
So I feel like also just being proud that you're working on yourself.
Yeah, that's
because it's
great.
not something you should be ashamed of.
Right, that's great. And to your point, I've gone to a counselor or therapist, a couple times over my life. So it's okay and don't be afraid. And to your point, if the first one you don't connect with, what did you say?
There's always another one. A lot of people do psychology, so
that's great.
You can find somebody.
That's great. And so you are continuing to go to her, right?
It's not as like I was going for like every 2 weeks, but now I see her like once every month, if that. Like,
and how
spaced out.
And so tell me a little bit more about how does that help you know who you are in Christ?
She has helped me forgive myself a lot. I would struggle a lot with when talking about situations, kind of like dissociating and not feeling like it was myself who's experiencing situations.
Sure.
Because like out of like a protective measure for myself.
Right.
And I think that she helped me realize that, like, God was with me in every single situation. And my mom as well, too, had helped me with that. Just being like, where was God, like, when you were experiencing what you were experiencing? And I feel like she just made me understand that it was me who's in these experiences, not somebody else.
Right.
And also that that wasn't the end of the world, and that I can move on from that, and that isn't who I am.
Right. And that, they were both saying, where is God in all this? And so were you able to see where God was in whatever it was that you were talking about at that moment? Yeah. And how'd that make you feel to know that he was there?
Yeah, I feel like I dealt with a lot of, like, feelings of shame. I would say that was, like, a big thing that, like, the devil tried to use. He would try to, like, make me feel dirty and unclean, and, like, with eating, like, with my eating problems, like, if I would eat something, I'd be like, oh, I'm so dirty and I'm disgusting, and how could I do that? Or if I would do something with my friends, or, like, with my boyfriend or something like that, I'd be like, oh, I need a shower, like, I'm so disgusting, I'm so dirty. So I feel like I just, with knowing that God was with me in those situations, I was like, why would he be near someone disgusting and dirty?
Yeah.
Like, that makes no sense.
Right.
Because he's perfect.
Yeah.
So I was like, obviously I'm not that horrible if, like, Jesus is with me in every situation.
Right, because he loves you no matter what you do, right? He loves you because you are his child.
And I feel like even when I wasn't on a path, like, really dedicated to being a Christian, I could still feel his love. And I feel like even though, like, sometimes I was like, I hate you, like, just crazy stuff. I feel like I could always just feel that he would protect me.
Yeah. And as you look back on those times where you were just you were angry at him, it's okay to be angry, right? It's okay to be. But as you look back, did you notice that he was still with you?
Yes, because there was just so many situations that should have ended up worse than they were. And I think that he gave me great parents. Like, I don't know, I always think about it, I'm like, how'd you know that, like, these parents would be the best for me? But I feel like I could just feel his love radiating off of my parents and my therapist, and also my sister. And I don't know, like, I look back on it now, and it's not so much a shame. Like, I'm not as ashamed.
Right.
And I can, like, register in my brain that was still a part of me, and that, like, that person needed love too.
Right. Yeah. Good. Thank you for sharing that. That's really great. Let me ask you, like, during that time frame, though, as you were going to a therapist, and there was still, was there outside influences, cultural influences that were sort of vying for your identity, and can you share a little bit about that, and what that was, and then how you were able to walk out and maybe understand the truth about who you are?
So I would say, obviously growing up Christian, I was always more involved with, like, the church than, like, like, people who aren't born into Christianity. So I was pretty sturdy and, like, set in my ways, and then, like, middle school came around, and I started to understand, like, kind of the hateful Christian stereotype, and I knew that I did not want to be that.
Tell me what you mean by that.
People who just they don't express the love of Jesus to maybe some people who have opposing views as them, like the LGBT, like they, like, instead of, like, showing them love, it's more hateful. And then also just to, like, people with opposing views, which definitely goes both ways, but I just felt that it just felt so prideful, and I knew that I did not want to be a part of that, and I kind of just grouped all the good with the bad. So that was a big, like, driving force of why I was like, I don't want to be Christian anymore.
Right, because you were seeing how others were acting and representing.
And it just, it just seemed like, I was like, they don't seem very happy. So I was like, why would I want to be a part of that?
Right. Yeah. So that was influencing a lot of your decisions about who you were deciding to become, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so you've sort of journeyed through, and then all of a sudden, a year ago, you had a pretty big experience that sort of shook you to the core and went, okay, I'm really now going to start following Jesus.
Yeah.
And so that was about a year ago. So what has that journey looked like since then, with your walk with Jesus and knowing and knowing your identity? And so and is there still cultural influences that are sort of trying to still, come at you?
So to answer your first question, after that experience, luckily what like the devil intended for bad was like completely turned around and used for good.
Amen.
My friend and I that were in that situation, we actually like started like doing a lot of like inner healing together. And we started talking to like my mom, and we started doing like a little Bible study. And I just always felt like I didn't really have a friend that like I could confide in, that like was like aware of like how I was like on a walk with God. And she like just became that friend for me. And it's just been super cool to see how God has changed not only my life but her life through that circumstance.
Isn't it great that God allows us to and brings people into our life that we can journey together, and that's safe, and that you can share, how you're feeling, and then that is Christ-centered, and can talk about what does God say about that, about how I'm feeling. What does God say, and what's the truth, about whatever it is that you might be feeling or walking through. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And so you've done some inner healing, and you're in a Bible study.
Yeah.
But what else are you doing? And what else? How has your life changed since a year ago? And you shared you're going to college to be a psychiatrist, right?
A psychologist.
Psychologist.
So a
sorry, a therapist.
People get it confused all the time.
I do. So, okay. So tell me a little bit more about that. And
so I, from like a very young age, I feel like I've been pretty outspoken and pretty flamboyant, and like people kind of just look at me and think I'm pretty confident. And I think that a major lie that I was starting to be told was that I was a fearful person, and that I was just constantly weighed down by this anxiety. And I still have moments of like faltering of like, well, is this Jesus thing even real? And like, is this how I want to live? But I know like as soon as I start having those thoughts, like it'll be a day of like just like this unrest. And I'm like, what I'm feeling right now, I don't want to experience this. And I know that the only way to find peace is through Jesus. And I just feel like my anxiety, like nothing else is able to cure it besides like bringing it and surrendering it to Jesus.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So what you've learned is when you start to feel anxious or start to feel not, your true self, you what I'm hearing you say, you go to Jesus and go, okay, what's going on? Identify it and surrender it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I feel like the truth of God has always been something I've struggled with, just because I've always just had this negative view of it. And I feel like the more closer I get, the more I'm like, wait, but there's some good stuff to this truth, it's not bad.
Right. So what would you share to those who are listening that can relate to what you're sharing, and that are still maybe trying to figure it out? What would you share, and what would you want to tell them about the importance of knowing your true identity in Jesus Christ?
I think it's really relieving to know that like who you are right now, it might not be who you are in like 10 years. So I feel like Jesus can change your life, and also that it isn't about like other people's relationships with Jesus. That doesn't matter. Like, yes, it's great to like see people who have a fruitful relationship, but also your relationship with Jesus matters the most. And I feel like it looks different for everybody. Yeah. And I feel like it may take years, but it could also take a week. And I don't know, I just feel like he can meet you wherever you are.
Yeah. So, if what I'm hearing you say is don't compare.
Mm-hmm.
Your relationship with Jesus is unique, and journey on that journey, right?
Yes, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, you said it. I'm just saying it a little differently, but I think that's really important. Is that because we do like to compare. We do like to look at, well, how come? Like, I want to be like that, or I want that,
Or I don't want to be like
or
that.
I don't,
Yeah.
right? Or I don't want to be like
Yeah.
your story. I don't want to be like that, right?
Yeah.
So the value of not comparing and really seeking the truth and staying the course and journeying with Jesus, because you're on an amazing journey.
Yeah,
And
Jesus' love can do miraculous things.
Yeah. So you heard it. Jesus' love can do miraculous things. So if you're struggling, if you can relate to Katie's story, we encourage you to keep seeking the truth. Keep seeking safe counsel, safe people who know Jesus that you can talk to, right? And you're not alone. You're not alone. Is there anything else you want to share?
I think that's it.
Okay. Well, we are glad that Katie, you joined us. Thank you for being vulnerable and for sharing all your story. And I know we're going to have you back. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, and enjoy college.
Yes, I'll try
Enjoy
to.
college. So until next time, know that you are not alone. That Jesus Christ is passionately pursuing you and loves you. And you can find your true identity in Jesus Christ. We'll see you soon.